Hello everybody, it's Bill's That College Football Guy here with another video. Oh boy. Alright, saw the title. What are we talking about here? Alright, Pac-12 Mountain West expansion. Let's get into it here. Okay, number one, Pac-12, we get out first because this is a little bit here. Pac-12, we know they're looking at certain things, but apparently expansion has narrowed. What do I mean by that? What I mean is they're talking about the fact that Pac-12 will have, apparently they're only adding one school, because a lot of people report, I was one under the fact that Texas State and St. Mary's were high on the list. Well, apparently St. Mary's is getting pushed to the side a little bit because they don't add enough, which is interesting that they're considering that. Could they still add St. Mary's? Absolutely. But what I've been hearing is, like, for full membership, one, not two, one. Now, who would that be? Well, we know the fact that they have had full conversations with Texas State. That is no surprise and no secret to anybody. They've also had cursory initial conversations with New Mexico State. Like, how you doing? Everything's going on there. Hello, how this thing's on there. Initial cursory, how you doing? Will you be interested possibly coming in later on? Initial conversations with New Mexico State. Initial conversations with St. Mary's. But apparently the conversations, now I could be wrong. I could be very wrong. But there's nothing past initial conversations for St. Mary's. Because there's debate on what to do here. Reason being, they want to add one school. Because apparently, what I said a while back was they were thinking about adding Texas State. And wait, just add one. Nobody else. Just one school. And wait to see what happens with the ACC and the AAC schools. They still think that they can go in there and possibly they can backdoor and get themselves another school. Man, that shirt's wrinkled even. Been a long week. But add Texas State. Now, Texas State half share. It makes sense for Texas State, but they feel they're worth more. They could be getting a 2/3 to 3/4 shares for 2, 3, 4, maybe all 5 years, or it escalates up to the final year of the agreement. They get the full share. I don't know if that's still in the works or not. New Mexico State is basically the fallback option. Has there been? So I thought originally it was going to be like Texas State and Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns. Bring them in. You have 9 for football, 10 for basketball. You're good. But apparently, they still think that they could possibly get, maybe not Memphis, but UTSA or North Texas or, something along that one. I don't even know about Rice if they're in the equation, as far as I know they're not. But they basically, if it's Texas State or New Mexico State, there has been third-party, backdoor, booster-to-booster, donor-to-donor conversations with Louisiana and Louisiana Tech. But nothing formal from the conference. Not even cursory conversations. Nothing. So basically, it appears to be it's going to be one full member only. They're not doing two. They are not doing two. So it's going to be a rough one. So basically, that's basically what they're looking at is they're going to add our full member. They may not add St. Mary's and just see what happens. There could be schools from the AAC coming in. There could be on there. The ACC stuff happens. We'll see who goes there and when happens and wait and see. Because basically, you saw on there like the Pac adding one, and the headline I have on the Mountain West going to 12 football and 14 basketball, 14 Olympic schools. Both conferences are preparing for 2031. Make no mistake, both are. Possibly something happening earlier, but both are preparing for 2031. They're in the fact that the ACC schools make their deal. Why split their pie up? Because they're apparently, what I've been hearing, is the media deal is only so much. If they want another basketball school to come in, the other school is going to have to take a lesser share to pay for it. So in order to get St. Mary's, Texas State would have to take a less share. If Texas State's not willing to, New Mexico State would. Mexico State would take a 25% share. 25% share to a half share to join the conference. They do it in a heartbeat. So New Mexico State's kind of the bird in hand. They thought Texas State was the bird in hand. Apparently not. But Mexico State apparently is the bird in hand. They'll take the half share easily and go, and that gives them the money to go get St. John's and plus possibly help out with Gonzaga. So that's what they're doing. They're planning on the future. Mountain West, I said 12 to 14 is the eventual. I think 12 to 14 is the eventual plan for the Mountain West Conference. They're eventually planning on 12 football members, 14 for basketball. I think that's the eventual plan because that's Gloria Navarez planning for 2031. They're like, how's that planning for 2030? What the hell does that mean? All right, let me get to it. Right now, as it stands, we'll do the Pac-12 is at 8 football, 9 for basketball. They had one more full member. It's 9 football. There's going to be 7 football, 8 basketball. They had one full more. It's 8 football, 9 basketball. Done. Nobody else. Maybe do 10 for basketball. That's on the outside. That's it. And they wait to see what happens. Donezo. Mountain West right now is 8 full members, 10 for basketball. But UC Davis is right now in the middle of a multi-million-dollar, $100 million plus, several $100 million, I think, football expansion, where the football stadium between, I think the deadline window is summer of 2028 to the spring of 2029. They're expanding the stadium, including building an upper deck, which will bring stadium capacity from the 10,000 they're at now to 30,000. And I believe once that's finalized and getting close, probably 27, 28, they're going to announce the fact they're going to be leaving and formally coming up as a full member of the Mountain West. They will announce that. So at that point, that happens. It's 9 football. Excuse me, I correct myself. We have 9 football, 10 basketball. I forgot about NIU. 9 football, 10 basketball. UC Davis comes up, becomes 10 football, 10 basketball. But apparently there is some smoke around here. The smoke is apparently North Dakota State's getting a little more interested about being in the Mountain West. If the deal if the deal's like $3-4 million for them, they're willing to make that move to come up for football only. We also have shout out to Casey Smurfwaite, who did Extra Points article. Shout out to him on X, who just a lot of great stuff. Apparently, Gloria Navarez is looking at adding 2 Olympic schools. Like, why? Why are they adding 2 basketball schools? What's the point? There's a method behind the madness, okay? Now, you bring in 2 schools. There has been talks of UC San Diego, of UC Irvine. You know, they would both bring in Southern California. There's talking of Utah Valley to replace Utah State. No, I would not bring in Utah Valley. San Francisco, damn good school. Could be great ad. Another part of the Bay Area you could get. You're talking about Seattle. I mean, there's a lot of schools that could be in markets that could help you out a little bit for basketball that are damn good schools playing. There's a lot of options. I mean, San Francisco is an intriguing one. So's Irvine or San Diego to get back in Southern California. So, but let's just say for the sake of argument, they add 2 basketball schools, regardless of what 2 they are. They add 2. UC Davis is going to become a full member. That becomes 10 and 10. 2 basketball becomes 10 and 12. Actually, not 10 and 12, excuse me. Yeah, 10 and 12. 10 and 12 is on there. You add North Dakota State for football, you're 11 and 12. Now, Tarleton State has got interest from multiple conferences, but they eventually would like to be in the Mountain West. That's kind of the goal they would be. But they want to be a full member. The Mountain West, to get this to pull off, you're probably going to have to kick back money to Hawaii to compensate for their time and for their extra travel costs to go visit them, to go play at Tarleton, which is near Dallas, because it's too far for them. You may have to kick in some money for that. I think the conference would figure out a way to make it happen, to kick in money for Tarleton. They'd figure out a way to do it. So Tarleton becomes a full member. So at that point, you would have 12 football, 13 basketball. Add 1 more basketball school at that point. whoever it is, probably among the ones you were discussing before, probably another one, unless something else pops up. You're at 12 football for 14 basketball. Okay. And at that point, for the few seasons you're going to have it, I would, for a football purpose for me, I would probably, for scheduling only, if this is what indeed happens with Tarleton, with the two other basketball schools, but this is football. Tarleton with North Dakota State coming in and UC Davis coming in. For scheduling for football, I would do almost divisional. Almost divisional. We're a West Division for scheduling. You know, you have Hawaii, San Jose State, UC Davis, UNLV, Nevada, and Air Force. And you have another one of Wyoming, NIU, North Dakota State, New Mexico, UTEP, and Tarleton. For football scheduling, you play everybody in your group in scheduling, and you play 3 from the other group, which minimizes travel. It kind of keeps things somewhat regional. Wyoming's unfortunately be a little bit of a hurt position, but they don't have to play Hawaii every year, so I think it kind of balances out. They won't have to play Hawaii as often either. So I think for Wyoming, it's going to balance out. They'll be all right. They'll figure it out. And that's for that scheduling. Now, and then basketball, I was spitballing. How would you do this with 14 schools? How would you do basketball? Would you do an 18-game schedule? Would you do a 20-game schedule? How would basketball work? And that's something for us to, y'all can spit out an idea in the comments. But again, why would you do this much? What's the point? 2031. Sake of argument, UNLV and Air Force leave the Mountain West. What do you have at that point? Well, before, you had 12 for football, 14 for basketball, 10 full share members. Hawaii, San Jose State, UC Davis, Nevada, UNLV, Air Force, Wyoming, New Mexico, UTEP, Tarleton. Those are your 10 full share members. By losing UNLV and Nevada, you drop to 10 for football, 12 for basketball, and 8 full share members. So you're still officially a conference. You don't get caught flat-footed trying to find another school again, and you've got a base to build upon after if those schools leave to work on your next media deal 2031, 2032. You've got a place to work with that covers those losses if those two leave. So you still have a conference that is stable, and you have basketball value. And I think the whole reason going to 14 for now is to get basketball value. Is to try to get as many tournament schools as you can. Because tournament shares are worth money. $2 million a piece is nothing to sneeze at. So having that value means a lot. Now, but I think with her, the idea of, with North Dakota State, the rumor's now kicking up. That I've been hearing for a while now, but apparently there's a lot more smoke going on there. Tarleton's still getting on. They're trying to work on their things. Tarleton will not announce they would join the Mountain West or even Conference USA. Maybe Conference USA sooner. But they're not going to announce anything until... Let me turn this off. I just saw a headline on my phone about getting another message, and I don't want to have it pop up here. But, with all this, it prepares, if UNLV and Air Force leaves, it puts them in position to prepare for it. That the conference is not caught flat-footed, that they don't have to scramble again. They don't have to do this again. If they leave. If they don't leave, you're in a damn good position. And I still get a lot of crap from a lot of people that think UNLV getting a P4 invite. There's more likely that Boise State, San Diego State, Oregon State, Washington State, and Gonzaga would. I says, and they didn't like the counter argument. Here you're saying, what's the counter argument? Well, say that happens. Say that happens. Say Boise State, San Diego State, Oregon State, Washington State, Gonzaga leaves the Pac-12. What the hell is the Pac-12? Fresno State, Colorado State, Utah State, Texas State, or New Mexico State. Whichever the two. What the hell's that? You said that the Mountain West lost half their value when those 5 schools left. You lost more than half your value when those schools left. The conference is nothing. Texas State will be evaluating their options. Could they get in the AAC? If UTSA is still there, they're not getting in. They're not going to get into UTSA if the conference is, if they're still there. They're not going to get into into the AAC if UTSA is still in it. They're not going to get into, and they'll try to see if they can get in the Mountain West. If you go in the Pac-12, okay, we'll stay, we'll rebuild. Do you think anybody from the Mountain West, with the deal they got, with the schools they got, is going to abandon to run to this conference who's less than half of what they're worth? You don't have the value. Nobody from the Mountain West would bolt. You'd be looking to try to get merging into Conference USA, or who are you going to grab? Louisiana? They're not going to leave the Sun Belt. They'll be making more money than you guys. Making almost as much money with less travel. They're not leaving. Louisiana Tech? New Mexico State? Okay. That puts you at 6. Still need 2 more. I'm going to grab Montana and Montana State. Hope to God they can get them in the FCS time. Or would Texas State look to get in the Mountain West? Fresno State would be welcome back in the Mountain West probably because they didn't sue. Colorado State and Utah State, same option as Fresno. Maybe the Mountain West let you in at a half share, or put your football in the AAC as a football-only ad. And then if the WAC still exists, because you can't go in the Big Sky, because the Big Sky wants all sports or nothing. They won't take Olympic sports only. You can see if they'll let you in the West Coast Conference or the Big West or not. If the WAC's still around, you can go play in the WAC with your basketball. Be back where you started. With that as an option possibly coming up in the future, if you're UNLV, you wonder why they're kind of wondering, 2031 is going to tell a lot of things are happening right now. And I'm going to say one thing right now. Everybody's looking at the media deal options. Mountain West should be worth more. Pac-12 should be worth more. Both conferences are being undervalued. And both conferences will get less than what they're worth this time around because neither conference has a track record in their current incarnation. Pac-12's previous incarnation, the Conference of Champions, that doesn't exist anymore. There's a Pac-12 revamped with newer schools and a different mindset, but there's no track record of these schools this group of schools, this new group performing together. The Mountain West, there's some considered one of possibly the best G5 conference, who had Boise State make it to the CFP and get a bye. That conference no longer exists. This is now a Mountain West revamped. This group of schools have not played together, so there's no track record on them either. So both schools are going to be undervalued and get less than they're close to their worth in this media deal, this current one. The next one, 2031, okay, we've got a track record. We know what you do. We know what your ratings are. You know what this brings in, this brings in, this brings in. We know what we have. Now we can really do a deal. So this deal will be lowballed on both of them. Next one, if conferences stay intact, which for both is a major challenge, because a lot of things are going to be happening around 2031. We all know about it, and we have no idea what's going to affect what. I floated an idea to a couple people I know around some Big 12 universities, not on YouTube, not in the comments section, not on X, not on that. About the idea, I put another video, Kansas losing the Big 12. Who would they like to add? If they could not get an AAC school, who would they look at? Surprised me. Memphis or Oregon State? Both would come in and reduce share. Would Oregon State, the Oregon State fans are there, if you came in at a half share, would you come into the Big 12? Memphis would be coming in at a half share, possibly 40%. I think they said for Memphis 40%, which if their deal's like 35, 40 million, you're talking 12 to 16 million, which is a lot more than either Pac-12 or the AAC is getting. But yeah, I will be doing a video next week about the Kansas option and what could be happening there. For hypothetical. So that'll be happening next week. There's also some other ones coming up. But anyway, I've done enough running in my mouth. Pac-12, to sum it up, Pac-12, one more full member, not 2, maybe St. Mary's. We'll see. Mountain West, by 2030, right before the deal's up, they are going to be big. It could be 12 football and 14 basketball with 10 full share members. I think that is probably where we're heading to. There's too much smoke in too many places. And all these additions are being done as a fail-safe. If UNLV and Air Force or UNLV in a different school, leave. That way they still have 8 full share members so they don't get caught flat-footed again. But like I said, I've done enough running my mouth. You let me know what you think about all this down in the comments. So thanks everybody for watching the video. If you haven't done already, do me a favor. Smash the like button. Hit that thumbs up. I appreciate it. It helps. It helps YouTube know people like to watch this video. Comment on the video. I'm still thinking it's going to be Texas State, and it's just Texas State. Maybe St. Mary's. They may not do St. Mary's because St. Mary's, they said, doesn't add any media value, so why split up the pie? That's the whole reason why they may not be adding St. Mary's, because if Texas State's going to have partial share growing to a full share, there may not be the money to afford St. Mary's, unless they're willing to count for the escalator on them. If they're going to be reduced share or whatever that goes, we'll see about that. Mountain West, do you think they're going to get that big? I think they probably will 2030 by then to account for schools leaving. Because if you add Tarleton, UC Davis becoming a full member, they put you at 10. You already have NIU for football. You add North Dakota State, that gets you to 12. And then basketball, you add these 2 schools plus one more in the end, you're going to be at 14. So it's was Tarleton to be a full member at that point? They'll have their basketball as well. So it's I think that if it gets that big, this is the whole reason it gets that big, is to plan for 2 full share members leaving and compensating for their losses. That way they're planning ahead. And then if they want to build again in 2032, they can. You've got a base to build off of. You're still a conference. Because you wouldn't have to worry about that unless New Mexico left. Because they're the only one, I think, realistically, that could be a candidate. I don't think they'll take the Pac-12's interested in San Jose State. New Mexico, because of their basketball, could be, but that depends. With Richard Pitino leaving, how much is the drop-off? We'll see that in the next few years as well. So, again, like, comment on the video. If you think if I'm right, if I'm wrong, I'm a complete idiot, let me know in the comments what you think about everything. Share the video if you want to. If you haven't already, thank you all who have subscribed to the channel, all the new subscribers. I greatly appreciate it. Check out some other videos I've done. If you like them all, hey, subscribe, join the party. It's on the road to 1K. We get close enough, I'll decide if I'm going to do a live stream on the weekend of 1K. Probably have a few more members over 1K, so I'm going to be at 1K by the time I do the show. I'm below it. Just to get pissed off. We'll see what happens on that. If you want to follow me on X, the craziest it is there. Stuff going there all the time, a lot of stuff. So you want to follow me on X, the link will be in the description. So again, thanks everybody for watching. Oh boy, it's going to be a fun run back. Whenever I get loaded on this damn thing, it's taking forever. Load going to Missouri. I'm not taking it, but I still got to wait to get loaded before I can go home. So thanks everybody for watching. Hope everybody's having a great Friday. Be safe out there. The troopers are everywhere. Be safe and please be good to each other.